Thanks for coming. I'm Lakshmi Shanmugam. I'm an Eclipse platform co-lead and I work for IBM. So this session is about EGit essentials and tips and tricks. So I'll be showing a demo of some of the basic features of EGit and then move on to some advanced features. I am sure all of you are familiar with Git. It's a distributed version control system where every clone has a full copy of every revision of the code, and this makes querying against the history really fast. And Git has a strong support for branches. Git branches are really lightweight, and hence creating branches and switching between branches is very easy. EGit is an Eclipse project. It's an Eclipse team provider for Git, which is built on top of JGit, which is a pure Java implementation of Git, and it is an Eclipse project as well. EGit provides a user interface to perform the source control operations from within, the Git operations from within Eclipse. And EGit comes bundled with most of the Eclipse packages which are available on the downloads page. And in case you don't have EGit installed, or you want to update to the latest version, you can do so using the update site. Before I move on to the demo, a bit of history. So the Eclipse SDK projects migrated from CVS to Git in 2011. And at that point of time, EGit just released its 1.0 version. And the current version is 5.5.1. So we have been using EGit since then. There have been lots of new features, a lot of performance improvements, and a lot of usability features which have gone in since then. Okay, so let me move on to the demo. So let's first see how to create a Java project and add it to a new Git repository. So you need to first share the project. And here you can create a new Git repository. And you can see that after sharing, the current location is of the project is the workspace location, but after sharing, it will move into the Git repository location. So now the project has moved to the Git repository, but it is not yet in source control. And we have to add the changes to the source control. So before that, I would like to just show you a slide which would be useful throughout the demo. So a development environment in Git looks like this. So we have the .git directory, which is the local Git repository. So when you check out a project, it is in the working directory. So you can make the changes to the file when they are in the working directory. Once you're done with the changes and you're ready to commit, you can stage the change. And then it goes to the staging area, which is also called as the index. And then you can commit the change, and it again goes back to the local Git repository. So EGit provides the Git staging view to do these operations. So let's see. So you can see that all the changes are now available in the working directory. And you can change the presentation mode to a tree structure so that you can look at all the changes more in a better way. And going to stage the changes and add it to source control. Okay, another thing you can notice here is the author information is automatically filled. So if you have already configured your user information on command line Git, then EGit can automatically pick it up, or you can also configure this in the Git preferences. So you have the user.email and user.name which can be set, and the commit dialog will use that. So you can check that the history view, we have a new commit added. One of the common workflows is that for developers is that there is a project on GitHub or on eclipse.org, and they want to contribute to the project or get the source code of the project. And for that, you need to clone the Git repository. So for the purpose of the demo, I have a repository created on GitHub, and I'll just copy the URL and paste it here, and it automatically opens the git clone dialog, and then it populates the fields. And since I already have cloned the repository, let me just add it. So you can use the link in the Git repositories view, but there is an easier way to do that from the import projects wizard. So you can select projects from Git and choose this. And just choose the projects which you want to import into the workspace. So now the project has been successfully imported. And you can see that there is an incoming change. So there is a change on the remote repository which is not in your local clone. So you can do a pull operation to fetch the change. And now everything is up to date. So let's start making some changes and look at the other EGit features. So now here in the Git staging view, you can see all the changes in the working tree. And there is an option here to sort by state. So you can also change the mode, so it becomes easier to view it. So now you can see that the files are sorted by state, and it's easier to perform operations. Like if you just want to delete these files, you can just select them easily and do so. And stage this change. And you can see a small light bulb showing up here, which says that content assist support is available here for previous commit messages and files shown. So I can just say, can use content assist for pick from the previous commit messages. And then commit it. I can just realize that I need to give a different name. So I can stage this change again, but I don't want this to be a separate change. I just want it to change the previous commit. So I can use this button to amend the commit. And let's look at the history view. So here you have that you can look at the change. The commit has been amended. Many times we have multiple changes in a file, but we don't want them to be in. We want them to be separate commits rather than going into the same commit. So we can do that using partial staging. So for example, let me make multiple changes in this file. Okay, so I have two changes here, and you can look at the changes in the compare editor. So the left side, you can see that there is the index. So let me first move the first change to the index, and you can see that it's automatically moved to the index here. And I can commit this. And now I can stage the remaining change as a separate commit. So now we have committed two changes in the same file as two separate commits. If you want to revert the changes made as part of a commit, you can do that using reset. So for example, if I just want to revert the print statement which I added, I can do a reset. So we have three options here. So when you do a soft reset, it resets the head. The head will move to this commit, but it will not affect the index. The change will still remain in the index. So let's try this out. So you can see that the change is there in the index. You can do a reset mixed. This will also reset the index, but the change remains in the working tree. And when I do a reset hard, you can see that even the working tree will be reset. So then you get a dialog to confirm this. So now your changes are lost, and the head is now reset to the commit. So reset is recommended only if the changes are local, that is, you have not pushed the changes to the remote repository. But if you have already pushed the changes to the remote repository, then the right way to revert a commit will be to use the revert commit option, which will create a new commit with the reverted changes. And then you can push this change to the remote repository. We just reset this. Okay, so if you, so this is the history view, and the history view provides us a lot of useful features. For example, if you want to look at all the changes which are all the commits which are specific to a particular file, you can use this option. By default, it shows all the changes in the repository, but if you want to only look at the changes which involve this particular file, you can use that option. There are also other options here. For example, all changes in a project or in a parent folder. Using the history view, you can compare any two commits. You can just select the two commits and say compare with each other, and it will compare the commits. Okay, there are no changes here. Okay. So you can see that the compare editor shows you the changes, and you can also use the history view to open the commit in the commit viewer. So the commit viewer gives you all the information regarding the commit, and you can also see the diff here. You can use the history view to create a patch. So if you want to create a patch of a commit and to share it with someone, or to apply it on a different branch, or for any other reason, you can just right click on the commit and say create patch. And this will create the patch for a particular commit. You can choose to save it on the clipboard or a file. And even if your changes are not committed and you still want to create a patch, you can do so using the context menu from the project here. Okay, since I have no other changes in the workspace, I cannot create a patch now. So let's look at other features here. If you want to know the history of a particular line in a file, then you can use the show revision information, which shows you the history of every line in the file. And there is a color coding used here. The darker color shows that it is a more recent change, and the lighter color shows that it is an older change. And you can hover over it, and it gives you information about the commit. And you have other links to open it in the commit viewer or show it in the history. If you want to quickly view the diffs in a particular file, you can use the quick diff. So for example, let me first make a change here and open the preferences. So by default, quick diff uses the version on the disk as the reference, but you can select a git revision, and the default baseline for quick diff is the head. So it shows the diffs with respect to the head. So you can see that this is the change, and it also tells you that there's one change line. But you can also change the quick diff baseline here. So you can set this particular commit as the baseline. Okay, that's it. So now you can see there's an additional change. You can just hover over it, and it shows you the change. So you can choose any commit as the baseline here. Yeah. So it says there are two change lines. So now we see that we have two outgoing changes, and we can push these changes to the remote repository. using the push upstream. But I would also like to show the dialog to configure the push. So by default, it uses this ref mapping, but you can also make some changes here. Like for example, if you want to add all branches, so in that case, you need to remove the previous one because it already maps the master branch. It's a redundant one. So this will map all the branches from your local copy to the remote. And before you push, you can also do a dry run to verify that it is this is what you want, and then you can do this, save and push, and now the changes are pushed to the remote repository. Okay, so now let's move on to an important topic, that is branching. So as I already mentioned, Git branches are really lightweight. A Git branch is just a pointer to a commit, and it can be moved around. So if you want to work on a feature or a fix, and you without interfering with the main line of development, then you would create a branch. And once the work is completed, you can merge the changes from the branch to the master branch. So let's look at some changes here. Okay. So you can create a branch by just right-clicking on the history view and create branch. And you can provide a name for your branch. So you can see that this branch points to the same commit here. Let's make some changes. And let's commit the changes. So you can see here that it has moved ahead. Let's now switch to the master branch and make a commit there. Okay, so you can look at the history view that both the branches have diverged, and now you can integrate the changes from the fix branch to the master branch by doing a merge. And you can see that a new commit has been created, which is basically a merge commit, which is a result of the merge. You can also integrate the changes by doing a rebase. So let's try to do a rebase here. So now you can see that the branch has been rebased, and you can see that the history has changed here. The commit has basically changed. That is because just the change has been applied on top of the branch. So when you do an integration of the branches, conflicts can occur. And EGit provides you the merge tool to merge these resolve these conflicts. So let's look at an example here. And I'm going to make a change on this branch as well. Okay, so when we try to do a merge, now we should have a merge conflict. So it shows you that it is conflicting, and we can go to the Git staging view, and it also shows you the file which has the conflict. You can just double click on that, and you can see this is the merge tool. It shows you the conflicting lines basically in red, and you can also look at choose this option to view the ancestor. So this was the change in the ancestor, and this is the change in the different branches. So you can merge them here using the merge tool, or you can also directly merge them by opening the file in the working tree and choose the version you need. So I can go with this version and remove the rest of the lines. And now you need, once the conflict has been resolved, you can stage the change and commit it. So now we have merged the change after resolving the conflict. So if you want to modify multiple commits, you can use the interactive rebase. So the interactive rebase lets you quickly modify multiple commits using the actions which you can specify in the rebase plan. So some of the actions, you can pick the commit as is, you can remove a commit, you can edit a commit, you can also squash a commit, which basically means you can combine multiple commits. You can keep the commit message or modify the commit message. So I'll just show you a demo of interactive rebase. So for example, let's check out this branch. And there are a series of commits here, and I want to modify some of the commits. So I'm going to select interactive rebase on this. And this shows you the list of commits, and you can now plan how you want to modify these commits. So by default, it is all pick, so the commits will be picked as is, but you can also change it. For example, I can move the javadoc commit up, and I can squash these two commits. So I just choose this commit so that it will get merged with this commit. And this commit can also get into this. And I can remove this commit, so I just say skip. And I can modify this commit, say edit. Let me change this so that it's something different. Okay. So this is the rebase plan. And so you will get a commit message dialog here so that you can modify this squashed commit, and you will also get a dialog prompt here to edit the commit. So let's now start the interactive rebase. And another thing to notice is once you've started the rebase, the head has moved to this commit. So let's start the rebase. So you get the commit message dialog here so that you can edit this. So I can just change this to say add. And now you can edit this commit. For example, I can just change this. So change this. And say continue. And okay, you can close the interactive rebase. And now you can commit this. This is the commit which was edited. Now if you look at the history view, you can see that the number of commits are now reduced because some of them have been squashed and one of the commits have been removed. Okay, so if you have made some changes to the commits and you have lost a commit, for example, how do you get it back? So there is in Git records every change to the head. So if you have made any changes to the head, or if you have created any branch, so all the changes are recorded. And they can be viewed in EGit using the Git Reflog view. So if you look at the Git Reflog view, it shows you all the changes you have made to the head. All the commits, all the rebase, everything is, appears here, and you can look for a particular commit. For example, I can look for a commit, and I know this commit was removed. I had reset this commit, so you can open this commit in the commit viewer and look at the change. Or you can also try to get it back by creating a branch. So what happens is, since the commit doesn't have a way to reach, it is not visible in the history view, but you can provide a name and you can also find it in the history view. So now this commit which was removed is now available and is visible. The history view actually provides this find toolbar using which you can search for something in the commit messages or the commit ID or any information in the history view. And you can also have a fine-grained search using this Git search dialog, where you can specify the scope of the search. You can also choose, if you have multiple repositories, you can choose the repositories where you want to have the search, and also specify you want to have search on all branches. Yeah, so one last thing I would like to show is the synchronized workspace. So you can use synchronized workspace to look at any changes, outgoing, incoming changes you have. So since there are no changes here, it says no changes in the Git workspace, but in case you have any changes, all the changes appear in the synchronized view. And it can be used to it can be used to compare changes of the workspace with a specific branch as well. So these are the some of the useful links. So most of the information about the EGit features is available in the EGit user guide. So that is what I referred as well. So you can see this has all the information about the EGit features. Sorry? Okay, this user guide is also available in the Eclipse help. And you can also look at all the new features of EGit, which comes in every release in the new and noteworthy link. So that's all I had for this session. You can evaluate my session here. Thank you. So if you have any questions, you can ask me or you can ask Matthias. He's the EGit lead. He's there sitting behind. Yeah. You can use use the merge tool. So there is a way. Yeah, there is a link to, there is a icon which says copy all the changes from one side to another. You can do that. Okay, thank you.